All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Walking Dead video for today after last night's awesome episode of The Walking Dead Season 9. In this one, we're going to start off doing our first Q&A for the week, giving our thoughts on Donnie, or Daryl and Connie. I guess that's what people are calling them. I don't know. I guess it's okay. So we'll start things off with that, but I think most of us are still buzzing from last night's episode of The Walking Dead Season 9. I mean, that was an awesome fight to actually see in The Walking Dead. One of the best of the entire series for sure, and definitely a highlight for me of this season. That was so cool. So has Daryl finally met his match with Connie? So we've got a few comments here to go through, and you guys can certainly leave your thoughts below in the comments. What do you think about Connie and Daryl possibly being a romantic couple at this point? In the series, does Daryl need a love interest? Daryl could use a love interest, but also it's got to be the right type of character. It'd have to be somebody that is almost as badass as he is. And I think after watching episode 13, most of us got to see that Connie is pretty damn badass, right? That's cool. CGCentral HD said Connie is officially a badass. So there you go. A lot of people think that she was pretty badass in that episode. And Anna Hunt says, a great episode. I like Daryl and Connie together. Breaking Bad 1009 says, Daryl and Connie work so well for the show. He's forced to communicate rather than grunt and avoid eye contact as he normally does. Great move on the writer's part. And that's true, right? That for her, well, first for him, he's never been the best communicator in The Walking Dead, right? At least not since about season... from the start, really, right? But particularly in season like 3 or 4, he started kind of getting into the whole he'd be out and about on runs and doing stuff, and he'd be really he wouldn't say anything, really quiet, whispery, right? Just like the whisperers. So he didn't talk a whole lot, and then of course you have Connie, who obviously he can't. So it sort of is kind of in an odd way, kind of a perfect match that he's kind of, she can, and she's, forced to use the pad and everything for him, or sign language, and then he has to kind of do the same kind of thing back. So it sort of forces them to communicate in their own sort of way, because a lot of what Daryl communicates in is body language anyway, right? It's like sign language anyway. So it's kind of cool, and definitely after getting to see the two of them kind of fight side by side, well, sort of, they're split up a little bit, but they're fighting together against the Whisper group that was coming after them. Oh, I thought it was awesome, because I mean, if you're ever going to do it, I guess for me, I'm a fan of the Donnie idea of Carol and Daryl, or sorry, not Carol and Daryl. Well, we used to be a fan of Carol and Daryl, but there's Ezekiel now. Daryl and Connie. So, it's I guess it could work. I definitely think it could work. It looks like most people are kind of a fan of it right now. And of course, like I said, they have Carol and Ezekiel, so she's the other one for Daryl. And at this point now, I think you want to go with somebody like Connie, who's out and going to fight beside Daryl, going to go with Daryl, that kind of thing, can stay around with him and live in the mud and whatever else he's got to do. Pretty savage, Whisper-esque, right? So it's good stuff. So I'm a fan of it right now, and even if I was not before kind of these episodes, certainly now I think it's pretty good. Vefek says, realistically, what are the chances Beta would have actually survived that fall? It's hard to tell how far down it is. I haven't watched the behind the scenes, for it yet, which we kind of shouldn't anyway in terms of like using logic, because it kind of is. You should probably go based on the logic of what's in the episode, of what's shown in the episode, because sometimes they can make stuff look better than it actually is. I got the sense he took a pretty bad spill, with Beta going down. The bigger they are, the harder they fall, and he got basically tackled by Daryl, or pushed in by Daryl from behind unexpectedly. So he would have likely gotten pushed because of his height. He would have gone forward, probably hit his face against the one side of the wall, or his head against the one side of the wall. If he's going down, boom, hit his head against there, and then maybe fall back, or maybe hit his head and then kind of duck down in and fall down straight down on his face, because you can see his blood on his mouth. There's blood behind where he landed. So Yeah, and then he also had just been stabbed prior by Daryl, in in a pretty major, mid torso chest area, major place to be stabbed in. So, yeah, what are the chances of him getting out of there in real life? He'd probably die, in real life. Like, you think about it, he probably would die because there's also nobody coming for him. There's walkers blocking all the entrances. He's stuck there. He'd have to pull himself out somehow, which even by itself, even if you weren't injured, you could actually die in there if you can't, climb your way out, which a lot of people couldn't. Now he's pretty big and everything, and pretty strong and fast too. So he can probably, climb his way out of there. But the fact he's injured will make it harder for him. But he'll still get out of there, I think. And in terms of TV show logic, he's gonna survive. We haven't seen the last of Beta. I think that's guaranteed. But at the same time, yes, if it was reality or real life, he probably would die down in there. He probably wouldn't be able to pull himself out without. Without losing too much blood in the way or that type of thing from the stab wounds and everything else, and get back to the Whispers. Because you also got to remember, he's bleeding now, so that's fresh blood in the air, and he's got to go in through, and they were able to kind of lure the walkers out so they could get out. So he'd have to get out, and then he'd have to get all the way back to the Whisper camp, and there may or may not be anybody coming to save him. So it's tricky. Some people get injured in situations and they can call for help, and sometimes they survive and sometimes they don't. I tend to think that Beta probably would realistically die in that case, being stuck in there. But it's a TV show based on a comic book, so yeah, he'll get out of there. He'll be fine. Two Fierce Clan says, this was by far my favorite episode of The Walking Dead yet. I'm sorry, Rick, and all of them good moments, but this was like a holy effing shit episode. So it sounds like Two Fierce Clan liked it. I liked it too, man. And that's one thing about kind of the time skip, is that it's changed the way they fight now. So they don't fight the same way as they used to, where everybody would have guns. It's more like, there's a few guns here and there, like we saw with the Highwaymen. They had like muskets and stuff from like probably, who knows, like old antique shops or something like this, or something of the sort. Unless it was just for show, right? We'll have to see if the thing even actually works, right? It could be bullshit. It could just be like a show, and then because they got these mannequins and stuff everywhere. It's like who knows with them if it's real or not. We'll see if they're guns. But there's a few guns around, but there's not many. So I actually like to see knife fights and sword fights and stuff like that. That's really cool to see, really exciting, and more fun probably than to get to see the gunfights, which are pretty fun too. We got to see lots of that last year, but then again, we all know how people feel about Season 8 and All Out War. It's awesome stuff. Loved it, Two Fierce Clan, for sure. MilkmanC says, Beta's voice, though, 80s cartoon bad guy much? LOL, effing awesome. So, yeah, that's true. His voice is kind of like 80s cartoon bad guy. But I actually like that. Sometimes comic booky stuff is not bad. I didn't hate the have you guys seen a movie line. I thought that was kind of cute, right, from Carol. So, in a motherly kind of way. So, it's what it is. 80s bad guys for Beta. I think it's good. It's good stuff. I think the reason why you might be saying that too is because Daryl won the fight. Beta didn't win. If Beta won, then we probably wouldn't think of him the same way. Because Daryl won, it kind of makes us think that Beta's kind of a lumbering oaf, kind of like a little bit, like not 100%, but like 10 or 20% towards that kind of way to think about it, which he's not. It's just Daryl's very, very crafty and happened to get the better of him this time. We'll see about next time, but this time Daryl won, so it was good stuff, and I enjoyed it. Anna Hunt says, loved it when Beta used the door as a shield, so that was very cool. Yeah, when he countered it there, that's when I was like, oh shit, because there was a few of them coming in on that side, and then there was several coming in on the other side, so it was like, oh damn, how's Daryl going to take out all three of these at once? And luckily, he had it kind of set up like a maze where he was kind of coming back as he was going, and he was kind of countering them as they went along. And then all shit hit the fan when Beta came running in screaming, right? That's awesome. So, and the same thing kind of happened on the other side. Like at first, it's like, oh, okay, Henry's got this. And it's like, no, he doesn't. And same with Connie, too. And then a bunch more came, and it's like, oh, my God, this is really exciting. So I loved it. So far, the survivors have done awesome against the Whispers. The Whispers have not killed that many survivors at all. Which we're going to see that change pretty soon probably, right? But you could have kind of expected that because if you think of it, there's not that many survivors to kill off right now, right? They don't have that many characters, but there will be, no doubt, there will be some coming for sure. I360 Spartan says Beta is Undertaker 2.0. I think that's Kane, so I think he'll have to be Undertaker 3.0 or something, right? So I think that with the Undertaker character, they just figured out that, you know, a really scary character could just be this huge, you know, 7 foot tall or 6 foot whatever, however tall Ryan Hurst is, you know, just this huge guy with kind of a long hair and a, you know, mask or something, you know. It's scary. It's just very, very scary. And it works, and it's a part of our culture now. That type of character, and Beta is one of those. But at the same time, he's pretty crafty too, right? He's not without his tricks. You know, I didn't know he had those knives back there. I thought he might take Daryl's knives, as a lot of us thought, but as it turned out, they both have got some pretty sick knives. So Beta's for real, right? I love to see it. It was great for sure. It's sort of like I guess Beta is the Walking Dead's version of the Undertaker, I guess. Red Lotus says, "Holy shit, Daryl versus Beta was nuts." So a lot of people really enjoying that. Really liked it a lot. And FC Schaefer says Beta makes up for a lot of bad calls in the last 2 seasons. Perfect piece of casting, and the writers nailed the character. I think so too. I think they did great with him, and Ryan Hurst is fantastic as Beta for sure. So much fun. That was such a great fight for sure. Giuseppe DeRosa says, "Trev, can you make a top 10 Walking Dead fights videos or fights video?" And I kind of want to do that, but as I'm thinking through the fights in The Walking Dead, like a lot of them are like one hit type deals. So if you think about Rick versus Shane, you know, it wasn't, they were mostly talking. Shane was thinking about shooting him, and then Rick stabs him, and it's kind of it. So it's like, do we count that as one of the best fights? You know, 18 Miles Out is more of a fight, you know, you see it kind of back and forth. So it's a little bit tricky to say because a lot of them with the guns and stuff was just like a one thing. Or Gareth versus Rick, for example, when Rick gets him in the church and just smokes him. There aren't that many fights that go back and forth and have twists and turns in The Walking Dead. There's a few episodes. Negan versus Rick, 18 Miles Out, Shane versus Rick, Daryl versus Beta. But I don't know. Leave your comments below for any others you guys can think of that really stood out to you as great fights in The Walking Dead. I can't think of too many. A lot of it's one-hit type of deals or one shot or Rick runs over Bob with a car or something, the police officer. BD King 1997 says, "RJ is a hallucination. He dead." And then Adam countered it by saying, "One of the lamest Walking Dead theories is over. Daryl also mentions RJ in the sneak peek for next week. RJ is real. It's over. Done." So, yeah, I've mentioned that in the predictions video for episode 14. And I'm happy that Daryl has now mentioned RJ too. So even though he's not there with them, so I guess we could say that RJ is real at this point. I would like to see him have some more scenes with some of the other, you know, like Judith has. But maybe because of his age, they decide not ready yet, or maybe they're not set on a cast for him just yet. So we'll see who they cast and decide to play him going forward. But I am happy that the whole is RJ real or not thing is basically done now, with Daryl again mentioning RJ as well. And it didn't seem like he was mentioning it like if it's not real or something. No, it didn't seem like that. Adam Ford also said, "Michonne is getting pretty annoying. That constant sourpuss face is horrendous." So with her constantly being sort of, Nazi-ish or control freak over everybody and what's going on. But, after losing Rick and that, I think we can understand that that's, it can change you in a certain way and it can make you kind of very paranoid and everything. So, that makes sense to me. And then the last one will be from Brad Nichols, who says, "Daryl equals worst wingman ever," right? So for quite the block there coming in against Henry with Lydia, but he wanted them to stay on task because they're going to fight for their lives pretty soon, so he didn't want them to get too distracted. And they had to get ready, so it was what it was. And now they're still alive, so that's good. They won, they survived, so it's cool. If you guys liked the video today, check out the others we did last night. The review for episode 13, predictions for episode 14. 3 episodes left of The Walking Dead season 9. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you guys have too. If you like this video, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite. And if you're new and you want to subscribe, bottom left to subscribe. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for another video. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.